Is there already a 1967 style movement in place to stop the release of information about the murder of Pauline Pusser? Stay with me.
History is repeating itself. Just like in 1967, when Pauline Pusser's death was buried under cover-ups and half-truths, the truth is once again being ignored. There are people who do not want the real story of Buford Pusser to be told. These individuals have their own motives, their own agendas, and we're expected to sit back and let it happen all over again. That will not go unchallenged. The people behind this effort must be exposed. They are playing the same old game used to cover up Pauline's murder in 1967, just like they did when they refused to acknowledge how Buford actually died. Not in a heroic blaze of glory, but as a drunk driver in a tragic accident in 1974. But this time, they have a new weapon, a Tennessee law passed in the early 1980s. Originally designed to protect the identities of victims, witnesses, and TBI intelligence gathering methods, that law is now being misused, twisted to suppress the truth about a crime that occurred nearly 60 years ago. Ask yourself, who is left to protect now? Who are they really shielding, and why? Who benefits from keeping this truth hidden? This is no longer just history, it's a fast-moving, evolving story. In fact, while Mike Elam and Dennis Hathcock were recording this episode, new developments were unfolding in real time. Mike is now working to verify critical information that may expose who is keeping us from knowing the truth. Then we have to ask ourselves, is this person serving the public, or are we unknowingly being forced to serve them? What we need is justice for Pauline. Justice delayed is justice denied. We will not be silenced. The truth will come out. Here is Mike Elam and Dennis Hathcock.
Thank you for joining us. Before we get into the program today, I'd like for you to understand that even as we were recording this video, in the 30 short minutes that we were on camera, we did not know about things going on in the background, things we know now, things that I want to verify before I speak out on it. So I encourage you to watch this video, absorb what we have to say, and know that I will be following up on this with another video on Saturday addressing these very matters. This is a travesty that's going on. Pauline's murder was investigated through the use of a grant. This did not come out of the TBI's operating budget. So, to me, it affects everyone, not just the people in Tennessee, because there are so many people across this nation that believed in Buford Pusser and believed the story that we were shown in Walking Tall. And so now we're finding out that not only was that not true, but there are people in high places that wish to keep this covered up. I have no idea exactly why. I have my suspicions, but we'll get to that. But just know that Saturday we'll be back. We may not have all the answers, but we are digging. Now let's go on to the program. Welcome back to another Buford Pusser, The Other Story, and today with me is Dennis Hathcock, and we're going to be talking about the slow crawl of releasing information from the autopsy and so on. Not sure what is going on right now. It seems a little strange that, Mark Davidson has had the file from the TBI since late January, and here it is almost August, and still we've heard nothing. Well, I've heard rumors that and stories from reasonably credible people that there was going to be an announcement made last week on a Thursday regarding when a press conference would be held. And I heard from various sources that the press conference was going to be this Thursday, and still yet no one knows anything. So, Dennis, what are your thoughts on not being able to find out when a press conference is going to be?
Well, it's embarrassing, to be quite honest, to me, because, these people tell me it's going to be this day and we're going to do this and they're going to do that. And like you say, it's reliable people, you think, and I'm sure they are. And then right at the last minute, they'll change and decide. And if you tell somebody that, they think you're a liar, or that you're just making it up or something.
Yeah, I've got to where I don't want to put anything out there about when it might be, because every time that you try something, they change the goal line. So, it's difficult. It really is.
Well, all they're doing, I don't understand it, to be quite honest with you, Mike. All they're doing is making themselves look like they're trying to cover up something. I don't, and that's what people think, is they're trying to cover up. There's something they're trying to cover up.
Well, I've been told that one reason that there's a slow crawl is on all this about releasing information is that, the investigators that I shared information with and you shared information with, I think their hearts were in this thing. They want this thing to come to a conclusion. However, there is apparently someone in the works, and I'm not sure where, that is trying their best to slow this thing down. I've heard from some, and here again, supposedly reliable sources, but you never know, that the reason it's being slow walked right now is somebody wants a promotion, an advancement, and possibly they feel like that if this comes out and Buford is actually did what we think he did, that it might harm their chances. I don't know anymore.
Well, I'm like you. I don't know how that anything could happen that would harm somebody's chances of a promotion or any kind of thing like that. I mean, to me, it'd be just the opposite. If I was promoted, I'd say, well, I mean, you see, I'm all for justice and for the truth. And it appears to people that don't know any different that, like I said, they're covering up something. And the only thing I can possibly think about would be, originally back in 67, when it happened, I feel like, and I'm pretty sure that there were some stuff covered up back then.
Oh, yeah.
They almost had to be.
There's no doubt that there was a lot of stuff covered up back then. And you and I have discussed at length the fact that, for one, Ray Blanton was probably involved because he was a U.S. House of Representative member at that time. And, later, as we know, he ran for governor and Buford campaigned for him. And then Ray Blanton turned out to be one of the biggest crooks Tennessee has ever had to hold the governor's office, as he was impeached Tennessee style, where that they actually swore Lamar Alexander in as governor 3 days early because they knew that Blanton was going to sign a bunch of paroles, pardons, commutations, and he was into a lot of other things that were crooked that didn't come out for a while. selling liquor licenses, real estate, surplus cars. And then several years later, after his death, they learned that he was connected to a murder for hire scheme of Samuel Pettyjohn, a Chattanooga businessman. And somehow, I guess by dying early, he escaped all the embarrassment that would go with that. So, you have to wonder, is there somebody in the political ranks that have something to hide?
Well, I've said this before, and I don't think anybody actually pays any attention to it, but, Louise, that was what she had threatened to tell. That's what she had told Pusser, that she was going to tell some people in Nashville. She didn't name them. I'm pretty sure I know who it was. But she was going to tell some people in Nashville what he was doing, that she just could not pay the kind of money that he was wanting her to pay. And, if that went on back then, so be it. That's 50-something years ago. Today, all I hear is about the TBI. They're a different TBI. They're not politically motivated. They're great and everything. And I think sincerely, that the detective and the investigators, all those people, and even Mark Davison, I'd have to take up for Mark Davison. I think he's a straight guy, but the way things look,
seems like
people that don't know. It just looks like they're trying to cover up something.
Yeah, well, this just reminds you of 1967 when it was all swept under the rug in the first place.
All over.
It's almost exactly like that. And then, you take other things that have happened that, for instance, like with Buford's death, they didn't want to release that he actually died as a drunk driver when people came out and said, we could smell alcohol on his breath. Former McNairy County Sheriff Paul Irvin, who was the trooper that actually worked his accident in 1974, said that he had to take the blood alcohol concentration level at 0.18 out of the report to get things passed through. And so that shows you that somebody in government is capable of cover-ups. And who it is right now, most of those people are dead. They're gone. And so it leaves me wondering who right now has the motivation to try and slow walk this, hide it, sweep it under the rug, cover it up. There's got to be somebody behind it.
Well, Mike, I don't know that there's really anybody behind anything like that. It appears that way. That's the thing about it. They may think they're doing the state of Tennessee a favor by keeping it hid. They don't understand that people think that they're trying to cover up and sweep under the rug something. I mean, it's been what? We've been hearing that we're going to announce this and we're going to announce that for what? Close to a year, at least.
Well, it all started, back in the very last part of January when the TBI said that they had turned over the report to Mark Davidson. Now, I know he's a busy man, and as far as I know, he's a good man, but surely there's something that can be done here to get down to the brass tacks and somebody finally come out and speak and just tell the truth about what happened.
Well, I can't. I know for a fact that they have already told some of the things they know, and I don't want to, I don't want to jump the gun myself or anything, but
that's right.
but I know that they've talked to some people and told them some of the stuff they found. And like I said, of course, that goes like wildfire when they do that.
Well, I understand that they have told certain members of the family that
of the family, right?
right.
They've told the family, and the family was so happy, so that they found out. I can't go ahead and tell what they told, but anyway, why on God's earth would you make yourself look like you're sweeping something under the rug, or you're lying, or you're trying to cover something up if you are the TBI and you've already, had some bad things that look bad on your record? I'd be doing everything I could do to make the general public believe that I'm on the up and up. Everything is right, is true. I just don't understand I don't understand. I really don't.
It's a mystery to me. I mean, the TBI now is not the same TBI. And I want to make that clear. They're not the same TBI that they were in 1967. I mean,
right.
After.
But they're acting like it.
Well, someone is. It's
right.
not the investigators. But
no.
the thing is, and I think you and I both have experienced this, for instance, I was informed of a gun that may have been used to commit Pauline's murder. Don't know if it is the gun, but I did check it out and called the TBI. They got back with me and wanted the information on the gun. I know it was picked up, and they have it in their possession right now. I talked to the owner just yesterday, and he says he still hasn't heard anything about it. Well, obviously, everything is done. So it makes you wonder why they still have the gun. But more importantly, afterwards, they continued to contact me, and as they did you, looking for certain pieces of information. And of course, I would comply. I used to be in law enforcement. I understand what it's all about. You want all the information that you can possibly get your hands on. And I helped them find relatives of some of the people that have passed on that might know parts of the story, so on and so forth. Had to track some down as far as California. And it took a while to do all that. The thing is, the investigators that you work with, they don't share information. They ask for a lot of information, but then when you give it, and I understand that is because the state has legislation passed saying that the TBI cannot share information. I get that. But it seems like somebody is using that law to slow things down, and because this is a closed case now for all intents and purposes. They've turned their report over. They're just waiting for a decision to be made. And so what I'm saying is the TBI is a different organization than they were in 1967. However, there is somebody somewhere that has a reason to be slow walking this process.
Well, the TBI, the investigators, I'll put it that way, they have already come out publicly in the newspaper, on TV, on it, and said, we're through. We're turning the case over. We've done all. We've come to our decision. They're through with it.
Right.
There's no reason whatsoever that they should be not. I would think they would be happy and just very, very happy to publicly announce this is what our findings were. We found this. We found that. And instead of that, like I said, they act like they're trying to hide something. And I just don't understand it. And nobody I've talked to can understand it.
Well, I know I've contacted a lot of people from various media sources trying to find out anything. Nobody knows anything. One thing I can say is initially, when I started sharing a lot of the information I had, I told them that, hey, I wouldn't share any of the information that I have. I had at that time put a lot of stuff out on the Facebook page, Buford Pusser, the other story. And the thing is, I felt like, oh yeah, we found a gun. It checks out. The information, the background on it checks out that it could possibly be the weapon. Well, after I'd already put it on Facebook, I didn't see any reason not to go ahead and speak about it. That, just all I know about it is just what I've already posted out there. There was a couple of other things that we discussed. I mean, of course, we'd always talked about the impossibility of a car driving that route in the darkness of night without headlights and not being able to do what Buford claimed that they did. Didn't see any harm in continuing to discuss that. But there's a lot of things that both you and I know that we've never spoken about publicly. But, there's going to come a time when if they don't do something pretty quick, I may just go ahead and say, the heck with it, and start sharing some of this information. And, it's probably going to embarrass some people by the fact that, well, he's getting out ahead of us. And, what are we going to do now? I'd hate to do that.
Mike, I'm 75 years old. I don't have much longer to go. I'm the last one that was at the crime scene. I'm the last person that's alive. I've helped them. I've told them everything I know, what I saw there, what was actually there, not some of this bull that you're hearing from some of them of this and that, what was actually there. I've done everything that they've asked me to do. And I kind of feel let down, not by the investigators, but by somebody that's there, because the investigators have done nothing but exactly what they told me they would do.
Same with me.
And I just don't get it. I really don't understand it. And I think somebody needs to start some kind of effort to make them disclose what they found. I don't know who. I don't know if it needs to be a term. I don't know what it needs to be.
Well, like I say, I'm here before long. I'm going to feel free to talk if they don't release something, and if it embarrasses somebody that's holding something back, and people are able to figure out who that individual or individuals are, so be it. I don't care any longer. But maybe they'll take this as a motivation that they better be getting on the stick, because I'm about ready to start contacting the media and sharing some of this stuff with them. So if they want to get out ahead of it, they better be doing it.
Well, they act like that. There's nothing. You talking about you had a deputy, one of the main deputies. I won't say who it was that quit. That quit the job because of Pusser's lying, because of the big lie that he told, and that was about a murder. You've had there's all kinds of reasons to be telling things that's nothing but a big myth and a big lie.
Well,
if
what
it hurts some people, it hurts them. That's just the way it is. It's hurt me for the big lie that they've been telling.
Well, what gets me is that the fact that, when you look at Sheriff Pusser, how many times he was shot, how many times he was stabbed, and then you compare it to any other law enforcement officer anywhere around there, did not happen to anybody else. Right there in McNairy County, you had Jim Moffitt, he's his chief deputy. when he was asked about it one time, he said, I was never even in so much as a fight, but yet you've got everybody out to kill Buford Pusser. Now, that makes no sense to me. And, if people would just if they'd just take off their rose-colored glasses and start looking at things for what they are, just like that movie, Walking Tall, that made all this and Buford and his big stick famous. Right there at the very beginning of this movie, it says this is a fictionalized account of Buford's law enforcement career, but you have people out there that are so convinced that that story is true that they will swear that some of the things that I say never happened. And, I don't know how you deal with people like that.
Well, Mike, if somebody out there has to have a hero, that's fine. I don't care who they believe in. If they believe in Mickey Mouse, Buford Pusser, Santa Claus, or the Easter Bunny, I don't care. But, there's some people out there that would like to know what the very truth is about a guy that has killed and murdered at least 3 people that you know of, and possibly more.
Well, like I've had people that have contacted me since I started this endeavor and asking, have you ever heard of such and such? Because they disappeared, don't know where they are. One of them, was one that worked at a restaurant that told me a story about Buford came by one night and picked him up, and he said they went out in the middle of nowhere. And he said, I was kind of impressed that, the sheriff offered to let me ride with him that evening and such as that. And he said, all we did was go out in the middle of nowhere, dig a hole. And he said, I began to think I was digging my own grave. And he said, when we got the hole so deep, he said, Buford told me that we were finished. And he brought me back to town. He said, basically all he wanted was me to help him dig a hole. And he says, I have always wondered if somebody is missing that might be in that hole. And I don't know. But, that's one of the mysterious stories that you hear.
Mike, that's not the only story that's identical to the same one I've heard. I had a person tell me the same thing. Take him out in the middle of the woods and had him to dig a big deep hole. And I don't know if they buried anybody or didn't. And you'll never know. You'll never know.
I had I had a lady that contacted me, said that when she was a small girl, that her dad and Buford were friends, and she and her siblings were in Buford's car, and they were driving somewhere through Adamsville, I think it was, and said they saw a guy that worked on the pipeline. When he wasn't working, he spent all of his time just getting drunk, and said they picked him up, put him in the car, and said they took him out some distance out of town and just absolutely beat the crap out of him, left his body in a ditch, covered it up. And she called me, just wanted to know if I knew who it was that they had done this to. And I looked it up, did a lot of research on it, was able to identify the individual, but he actually survived. But you hear stories like this, and they are just so bizarre, and so many of them are so familiar. And the majority of these people don't want to be identified. They're just out trying to find a piece of information, something they saw, something they experienced, and for some reason they think that I might have information on all this. And in some cases, I've been able to find things, and it's never very pretty. I don't know how that a sheriff is the target of an ambush, his wife gets killed, and there's not enough concern to do an autopsy on her in 1967 to gather up all the information you can to follow up and find out who did that. But then when you look at some of the evidence that we've discussed so many times, the blood on the hood of the car, the void on the door panel, the time and motion that it took to get from the church down to the first ambush site, and the dark with no headlights, the speed that they would have had to travel, the location of shell casings. None of it makes sense, just like the phone call that got him out there and the fact that Pauline was with him in the first place. The only thing that we have on any of that is the stories that Buford told about why all these things happened the way they did.
Well, the deal about her being with him, the truth of the matter is it's illegal for her to be with him. It was illegal for his wife to be riding with him. But that's no big deal. I'm not saying that. But she wasn't a bit more with him than I was.
Well, Jim Moffitt said that she never rode with him. And then you had other deputies or constables who would claim that she did. But I think I would trust his own chief deputy saying that more than I would trust anybody else. Dennis, we are going to be running out of time. But again, I'd just kind of like to close by stating that, hey, I'm seriously thinking about releasing some of the things that I shared. And like I say, it will probably embarrass whoever's trying to slow walk this. So they need to get on the ball. They need to do something because people are tired of waiting. So I'll just leave it.
I don't know how you could be an official in the state of Tennessee with the TBI and want to do the citizens of the state of Tennessee to do this to them, much less the other people in all the other states that are interested in the myth and that believe this and believe that. I don't know why you want them to believe a big lie. I don't understand it.
I don't know, but if I was the hierarchy in the TBI, I would be finding out who's responsible for slow walking this because it is damaging their image. And I just hate to see that. I mean,
I do too. I live here. It's embarrassing. And I've had about 4 people to tell me the same thing. The same thing, that they're embarrassed for people to ask them about it.
Yeah.
Because they won't know.
Again, the last thing I want to make clear is it's not the fault of the investigators who did this because I could tell from what they asked me to find, because a lot of times they'd ask me, if I had anything on this, but I just don't know. But I bet you I can find out and make an effort to do so. And
same way with me.
I just wish I knew what all was in their files. I mean, there is no telling how much information that I've got, and I don't know what's in their files. I don't know if there's other things that they need and information I could supply, but I gave them what they asked for, so
I've supplied them with phone numbers. I've supplied them with pictures. I've supplied them with this.
I know.
Like I said,
it's frustrating. Well, Dennis, we got to get off here. We're running out of time quickly, so hey, I appreciate you being on here. I'm going to try to keep everybody updated. If we hear anything, we'll let you know. But again, I'm just ready to start talking here before long. And that's going to be my last
word. Understand.
Well, folks, I hope we didn't confuse you too much, but I'm going to close this thing as I always do by just saying truth has no agenda, and thanks for watching. Folks, as I said earlier, while we were recording this episode, there was a lot of things going on in the background. And since then, I've reached out to some people who often help me with these things, and they are doing some checking of their own to help us get down to exactly who is behind this. And of course, we're going through members of Tennessee legislature to find some information. And so Saturday, I hope that we'll be able to be a little more candid with what we know. Other than that, I don't have much more to say today, but I would encourage you to come back Saturday. Hopefully, we'll be able to add some clarity to all of this. So until then, just keep your head down and the powder dry. We'll catch you later.